This is George Dionne of the Rock is George podcast, and this is a KNAC.com exclusive interview with MARTIJN WESTERHOLT, keyboardist and founder of the symphonic heavy metal act, Delain. If I knew absolutely nothing about Delain, how would you describe the band's music to me?
Well, of course, the best music in the world, and very modest people, not arrogant at all by saying that. And no, let's be serious. Delain makes metal music with symphonic elements in there. Sometimes I say it's in structure pop songs with a metal coating, so to say. So symphonic metal could also be the way to say it. But the thing is, we don't only have symphonic elements, but also synthesizer elements and 80s elements and heavy metal elements. Yeah, all that.
Today we're talking about your upcoming album, Dark Waters, which comes out on February 10th through Napalm Records. But before we go there, I think we have to take a step back to your last album, Apocalypse and Chill, in 2020. Shortly after the release of that album, the band Delain pretty much broke up, and
Yep.
you said you were going to go on as a solo project, but now you're back as a band. So how did that all unfold?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a very, how do you say, fitting name for the previous record, because indeed everything collapsed and then COVID happened and, a lot happened. So now I tried to work it out with the other members. I got into a burnout, and the other band members thought that they wanted to completely change things. And we tried to work that out, but we couldn't. We worked on that for a year. That was very sad for everybody involved. And then I thought, okay, what are we going to do now? Is this then the end of Delain, or is there a way to continue? And for me, what was very important is that I wanted to think, is there enough Delain DNA left to continue? And it was not announced yet to the outside, but that we were, so everybody knew, okay, we did this process and we're now done and we're going to stop working. Yeah, I had to think about that. So then I thought, the only way I see possible is to continue as a project, because Delain started as a project in the past. The first album was a project. And I'm blessed with a lot of friends in the music business, in the music industry, that are musicians and wanted to help me out. Also, people that were as guests in my previous records. So I thought, let's continue as a project. But I also kept in touch with previous band members that left earlier in Delain's lifespan. They said, hey, you should continue as a band, and we want back in. And then I thought, yeah, but in that case, there's so much Delain DNA present that we can indeed continue as a band, and here we are.
And those previous members are Roland Landa and Sander Zoer.
Yes.
I probably butchered their names, but
Sander is correct and Ronald is correct. No, that's correct. And the funny thing is, we also had help from our previous bass player, Rob van der Loo. He's the current bass player of Epica. And with that, I had the entire lineup of April Rain back. That's the record people most remember of Delain. One that was missing, of course, was our previous singer, Charlotte. But for the rest, everybody was back. So that was fantastic. And of course, the bass player, Rob, could not be in the band because he has the other band already. And both bands are very demanding in terms of availability. But he's on the record. Yeah. So in short, a lot of Delain DNA present.
How did you discover new vocalist Diana Leah?
That's a good one. I kind of asked around people in the scene, but I also looked on YouTube channels, people that are covering other bands, bands like Nightwish or Within Temptation, and she was one of those people that had a YouTube channel, and I was really impressed with her singing. And I wrote down her name, and I thought, well, perhaps I should contact her at one point. And within a week of writing down her name, I coincidentally saw a comment of her popping up on an Instagram post. And I thought, wow, that's a coincidence. She said there, hey, if you ever need a singer, you know where to find me, with a wink. And I thought, and it was not entirely serious, it was a kind of a joke. But I thought, this is such a coincidence, I have to contact her. And I did. And I sent her some old songs for her to try out, so I could hear how she would sound on Delain. And I was a bit mean. I sent her our most difficult songs to sing on, the songs Masters of Destiny and Burning Bridges. Within a day, I got it back, and it knocked me off my chair. That's how good it was. And so I invited her to come to the Netherlands, where I'm from, and to meet with me and Sander and Ronald, and well, went really well, and here we are.
So now that you've reformed the band, did you already have Dark Waters written and ready to go?
No, part of it, but not everything. So I kept writing. COVID happened too, and so we were at home and we had time, and so I continued writing. And the previous stuff I always wrote with my writing partner Gus, and I already do that since the very beginning of Delain. He's not in the live band, so to say, but he was always in the writing team. And we continued writing. And at a certain point, when Diana was part of it, she joined in to record and even wrote some lyrics.
Let's talk a little bit about the songs that are out there ahead of the album's release. Let's talk about kind of the meaning behind The Quest and the Curse.
That's actually a song that my wife wrote, because as I told you, my wife is a Native American speaker. She was willing to write songs for the album as well. I'm actually not even entirely sure what the song is about, because I only write the music. I know it from the song Beneath, but from The Quest and the Curse, I'm not sure. I can't answer that. No.
That's all right. That was kind of the first single that introduced the new band to everybody.
Yes.
It came out a little earlier than the album announced. So this is kind of what sets the tone for the album, right?
Yes. Correct. And it was a song to introduce the band members, so that's why you have growls on there, and then you have Diana on there. So it was really introducing. And then we had the second single, which is called Beneath. That second single, I do know a bit more about the lyrics, because it also has to do with the album title Dark Waters, and it's about. It has the theme in there from coming from very far, very deep, down deep, and the comparison is there with Delain itself, because Delain came from very dark waters, like almost drowned and not being there anymore. But we came back to the surface. And you can also see that with the person in the video of that song that almost drowned and coming back to the surface.
In addition to Diana on vocals, you have a guest vocalist, Paolo Ribaldini.
Ribaldini is his name. Yes, he's Italian. Yeah. We have a lot of Italian connection, and which is all a coincidence. So it's really weird. Everybody I connected with had some connection with Italy somehow. So he is living in Finland, but he's originally from Italy. When I wasn't sure how to continue with Delain, he was also one of the person I got suggested, hey, try working with him. And eventually I chose to work with a female instead of a male as a singer, because I thought it would fit Delain best. But the contact with him was very good, and this whole process went very natural, because we said, let's just explore and see what happens, and let's not have any expectations up front. And so he ended up being involved in the album, and now he's on a couple songs, even on some singles. And it's really cool to have him, because it gives a lot of contrast in the music, having Diana and him. He has a more power metal, heavy metal voice, and I love that.
Is this the first time you introduced a male vocalist to the band?
No, because we also worked with Marko Hietala, and my people might know him from the band Nightwish. He played in Nightwish for a very long time, and he also has a very cool heavy metal voice. And he is a guest on multiple Delain albums, and right now as well on this album too. He did one song.
He did Invictus, where you pretty much brought all three singers together for sort of an epic kind of conclusion towards the end of the album.
Yes, it's kind of a mini rock opera, you might say. And this song, everything comes together, and all the singers come together, and that's really cool. Yeah.
You also have the song Mirror of Night, where you have guest guitarist from Within Temptation, Rujoli.
Yes, well pronounced as well. That's good. it's funny because in Delain we don't write or we don't record an album the classical way. Normally then you hear bands write and then they go into a studio for some time and they record everything and then they mix everything. But we do it kind of per song or per batch of songs. So a couple songs. And at a certain point, this song needed to be recorded. It was a deadline. But it was in a vacation period in summer. And my guitar player, Ronald, was on vacation. And also Ruud and Guus, my co-writer, also, besides writing, also recorded a lot of guitars on albums throughout Delain's history. He was also on vacation. So I had a problem, but of course I have a big connection with Within Temptation. I was a former band member of Within Temptation. My family is still in Within Temptation. So for me, I had to think like, who can I ask that perhaps is available to record on this album? That was Ruud. Ruud was available. And I was lucky because 2 weeks after that, he went on a tour in America, in the US, together with Iron Maiden, Within Temptation. So I was just in time and he recorded this song.
So Delain is known for a lot of their symphonic and theatrical kind of elements to their heavy metal music, but you sort of have a pop flair, I think, in there, and maybe that's the added keyboard. So I imagine that's sort of what kind of divides you from those bands like Within Temptation and stuff like that.
Well, Within Temptation also has keyboards. I think some people said it's a bit of a mixture between Nightwish and Within Temptation, and I understand that people say that because we have little bit of both in there, I think, and we also have a lot of 80s influences. I love the 80s, so there's synthesizer, but there's indeed also orchestrals in there, and that's a little bit that mix, which I really like.
You have kind of the Victorian artwork for the album. It's actually quite, classical looking and sort of fits the sound of the album. Is that something you have influence over, or does that get presented to you from the label?
No, we do that ourselves. And we work for years already with an artist. I think he's from either San Francisco area. Yeah, Glen Arthur. And because in this kind of music, you don't see a lot of artwork in this style. I really love his artwork. It has a lot of identity and character, and people also really connected to Delain. And that's why I thought, how great is it to bring this back? So this is the artwork from one of your fellow countrymen.
As with most bands today, vinyl is almost a must. You guys have a pretty cool looking vinyl there. I assume that you have a choice on how that is presented as well.
Yes. No, actually, the only thing the label does is release it. So we have complete control. Let me get it. I have it here, I think. This is our vinyl.
Nice.
And we can even choose the color of the record itself. So in this case, we chose marble, for example. I love vinyl, yeah. Yeah, reminds me again of the 80s, when you bought a record and in the afternoon you sat home, you put on the record and you went through the artwork and it's really cool.
So I'm guessing you collect vinyl as well.
I'm not a fanatical collector, but I do like it very much. But I know people who have everything and have an entire library of vinyl, and I don't deserve to be put in that group. Let's say it like that.
You have a European tour coming up this spring. Is this going to be like the first official tour with the new lineup?
Yes. We did a couple of separate shows, but not an entire tour. And we're having that tour in April. We're still taking it a bit slow because of a couple of reasons. COVID, post-COVID, a lot of bands tour now. But also I want to let the band get used to touring. Otherwise you push them in the deep pool immediately. And also for myself, because part of the reason why I also wanted to slow things down at the Split was because I had a burnout because we toured 100 shows a year or 80 shows a year. And I thought, well, 50 is okay as well. But indeed, we have touring coming up. And we actually are also working on a US tour in September.
Oh, excellent.
It's not announced yet, but we're working on it. Yeah. But you can talk about it. It's fine.
I was going to say, even though unannounced, I'm assuming it's a multi-band kind of tour.
We have one a support band taking with us. Yeah,
Yep.
correct. Yeah.
It's expensive to tour the U.S.
Yes, we won't earn any money, but I love to tour the US. I absolutely love it. And so I can't wait.
So you've toured the U.S. before, and obviously it's worth making that break-even point.
Yes, yeah, we toured. We did a tour with Sabaton and Nightwish, and we did a tour with Hammerfall, and yeah, and right now it's a bit more expensive because we have to get back on our feet after this big lineup change. But we'll get back there, and to me, it's important to connect back to the fans in the US, and to meet them, and yeah, it's important.
You released another project in 2022 called Eye of Melain. What was that
Yeah,
project about?
yeah, Eye of Melian is called, and it's movie score music, but with vocals. We have I do that with my wife, who writes the lyrics for that music as well, and we work with a singer again from Finland. She's actually the wife of the keyboard player of Nightwish. So there's connections everywhere. Yeah, we did a crowdfunding campaign last year. We wanted to release that without a label, and that was fantastic. It worked out so well, and so I hope at a certain point we can take it on the road as well. But right now I really love to focus on Delain and getting that back on its feet.
So with all this film score and theatrical stuff that's embedded through all the music that you create, who are some of your favorite score composers?
Good question. John Williams, Hans Zimmer. I love that. Hans Zimmer especially, man, how he did Crimson Tide and Gladiator, and yeah, it's fantastic. And also just movie music in general can really inspire me. And so yeah, you can definitely hear that back in my music.
Absolutely. And that new music is coming out on February 10th. It's called Dark Waters on Napalm Records. Those are all the questions I have for you today. I appreciate you coming on the podcast, and I wish you the best of luck with the new album and the upcoming tour.
Thank you so much. And yeah, thanks a lot for your time as well.